When you think of the Golden Age of Piracy, names like Blackbeard or Calico Jack probably come to mind. But what if I told you one of the most fearsome pirates of that era was a woman who spent most of her life disguised as a man? This is the incredible and largely true story of Mary Read. Forget the pirate stories you think you know, because this one will completely change your perspective on life on the high seas. Our story begins in England, around 1685. Mary Read was born into a world of secrets. Her mother, recently widowed, had lost her infant son. To secure financial support from her late husband's family, she came up with a daring plan. She dressed her newborn daughter Mary in her deceased brother's clothes and passed her off as a boy. This deception wasn't just a one-time thing. It became Mary's entire childhood. Growing up as Mark Read, she learned to navigate a world that saw her as a boy. This wasn't just about wearing different clothes. It was about adopting a whole new identity, a performance she had to maintain every single day. The money from her grandmother kept them afloat, and the charade continued. As she grew older, the act had to become even more convincing. As a teenager, still disguised as a boy, Mary took a job as a footboy, a uniformed servant in a wealthy household. But a life of servitude wasn't for her. She craved adventure, a desire that would define the rest of her life. Seeking more excitement, she did what any ambitious young man of her time might do. She joined the British military. This was a massive gamble. The army was no place for secrets, but Mary, or rather Mark, thrived. She was strong, capable, and completely at home in the masculine world of the barracks and the battlefield. Her military career took her to Flanders, in modern-day Belgium, a hotbed of conflict during the War of the Spanish Succession. She served with distinction, proving herself to be a brave and competent soldier. But it was here, amidst the chaos of war, that her life took an unexpected romantic turn. She fell in love with a fellow soldier, a Flemish man. As their relationship deepened, Mary faced a monumental decision. She couldn't build a future on a lie. So, she took a huge risk and revealed her true identity to him. Imagine his shock, discovering the soldier he fought alongside was actually a woman, but his love was genuine. He accepted her completely, and they decided to leave the military behind to start a new life together. They married, and using their combined military pay, opened an inn called the Three Horseshoes, near a castle in Breda. For a brief, happy period, Mary was able to live openly as a woman. She and her husband ran their business, free from secrets and disguises. It seemed she had finally found her happily ever after. But fate, as it often did in her life, was cruel. Her husband died suddenly, possibly from a fever. Heartbroken and with her source of happiness and income gone, Mary's peaceful life came to an abrupt end. The inn failed, and she was left alone once more. With no other options, she did the only thing she knew how to do. She put her male disguise back on and rejoined the army. After her second stint in the military, which proved less fulfilling, Mary decided to seek her fortune elsewhere. She boarded a ship bound for the West Indies, the epicenter of trade, wealth, and as she would soon discover, piracy. Her voyage took a dramatic turn when her ship was attacked and captured by pirates. This was a pivotal moment. Many captured sailors were simply killed or marooned, but Mary's military experience and her convincing male disguise made her a valuable asset. The pirates, assuming she was a young English lad, forced her to join their crew. For a while, she was a reluctant pirate, a prisoner just trying to survive. But over time, she adapted. She learned the ways of the sea, the language of the pirates, and the brutal code they lived by. She proved her worth, still under the name Mark Read, and was eventually accepted not as a prisoner, but as one of them. After some time hopping between crews, Mary eventually found her way to New Providence in the Bahamas. This was the legendary Pirate Republic, a haven for outlaws and rebels from across the world. Here, pirates could spend their plunder freely and live without fear of the law. It was in this chaotic melting pot that Mary Read's destiny truly took shape. She fell in with the crew of one of the most famous pirates of the age, Captain John Rackham, better known as Calico Jack, for his love of colorful clothing. His ship, the Revenge, was already notorious, not least because another woman was secretly serving on board. Anne Bonny, Calico Jack's lover, who was also disguised as a man. The situation on board the Revenge was a powder keg of secrets. Anne Bonny, disguised as a man, found herself drawn to the handsome and capable new recruit, Mark Reed. She began to make advances, forcing Mary into a corner. To avoid a very complicated situation, Mary took Anne aside and revealed her secret. She was a woman. Anne was astounded, but also thrilled. The two quickly became close friends and confidants, a secret alliance of women in a world of men. Of course, this newfound friendship made Calico Jack furiously jealous. Seeing his lover spending so much time with the new male crew member, he confronted them, threatening to slit Mark's throat. To save everyone's skin, Anne and Mary revealed the truth to him. Calico Jack was shocked, but seeing the value in having two fierce fighters on his crew, regardless of their gender, he allowed them to stay. From that point on, Mary and Anne fought openly as women, and the crew, seeing their skill, accepted them as equals. Life as a female pirate was anything but easy, but Mary Read was no ordinary woman. She and Anne Bonny were not just novelties. They were respected and feared. Accounts from the time described them as being just as proficient, if not more so, than any man on board when it came to fighting with pistols and cutlasses. They participated in raids, drank rum with the crew, and lived the pirate life to its fullest. Mary's ferocity was legendary. One famous story tells of a time she fell for another pirate on the crew. When this man was challenged to a duel by another, more experienced pirate, Mary knew her lover would likely be killed. She couldn't let that happen. So, she picked a fight with that same pirate herself, arranging a duel for a few hours before the one her lover was scheduled for. They went ashore to fight, and Mary, a skilled swordswoman from her army days, expertly dispatched her opponent, killing him and saving the man she loved. That's how she operated, with cunning, bravery, and a lethal touch. The Golden Age of Piracy was, however, coming to a close. Authorities were cracking down hard, and the pirate havens were no longer safe. In October of 1720, Calico Jack's ship was anchored off the coast of Jamaica. Most of the crew, including Jack, were drunk from a recent party. This was the moment Captain Jonathan Barnett, a pirate hunter, chose to strike. He surprised the crew of the Revenge, and with most of the men too intoxicated to fight, the ship was captured with barely a struggle. The only ones who put up any real resistance were, you guessed it, Mary Read and Anne Bonny. They fought furiously, trying to rally the drunken men, but it was no use. The entire crew was captured and taken to Spanish town Jamaica to stand trial. The trial was a sensation. The verdict was swift and predictable. Calico Jack and all the male pirates were found guilty and sentenced to hang. When it was Mary and Anne's turn, they too were sentenced to death. But they had one last card to play. When the judge asked if they had anything to say before sentencing, they both declared that they were pregnant. This was a common legal tactic known as pleading their bellies. Under English law, a pregnant woman could not be executed until after she gave birth. An examination confirmed their claims, and their executions were stayed. They were sent back to prison to await the births of their children. Calico Jack wasn't so lucky. He was hanged just a few days later. What happened next is shrouded in mystery. Anne Bonny's wealthy father may have intervened, as she disappears from all historical records. But Mary Read's fate was a tragic one. She never got to meet her child or regain her freedom. Shortly after the trial, while still in the squalid Jamaican prison, she contracted a violent fever and died. And so, the incredible life of Mary Read came to a quiet, lonely end. From a girl disguised as her dead brother to a soldier, an innkeeper, and finally, one of history's most famous pirates, Mary Read's life was a constant battle against the limitations placed on her. She lived on her own terms in an era that offered women very few choices. Her story is a powerful testament to strength, resilience, and a refusal to conform. She proved that courage and skill have no gender. While many pirates are remembered for their greed, Mary Read's legacy is one of rebellion and an unbreakable spirit. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of incredible figures from history. Let me know in the comments which historical rebel you'd like to hear about next. See you in the next video.